What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you want to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Well, I turned down any involvement in it. Hopefully, cooler heads will prevail among them. If you wanted to take on a demon lord, you'd better have had the national army backing you up. If a small group of them tried to pick a fight, it really would take a party of champions to save your ass, and they wouldn't have the time to prepare like that. A demon lord on the council floor was probably an opportunity too good for them to pass up, but having an unexpected event to take advantage of didn't automatically up your success rate. But what if this entire encounter was planned from the start? That seems pretty unlikely. But I better keep my guard up next time. The thought was depressing her already. With the invite in hand, I was now here in Anglacia. I guess they were giving me the royal treatment, because I was lodged in the fanciest hotel they had. Once this meeting was over, I looked forward to checking out the capital for the first time in a while. Benimaru was dauntlessly guarding me, with Soe receiving reports from his spies in the shadows. Speaking of shadows, I was starting to miss Ranga's presence in mine. He was out hanging with Datta often these days. Datta had fully rebounded from Milam's grueling training, but I guess he didn't have much time to rest. Milam had apparently declared that she was going to test him regularly from now on, with a string of real battle competitions against Caroline. He came crying to Ranga, wailing about how he'd be killed at this rate, so I guess Ranga felt obliged to come join him. But judging by his wagging tail, I supposed he liked Datta a fair bit. Nothing wrong with building a friendship. So I officially brought Benimaru and Shuna along with me. A larger group would have presented lots of problems, so I decided to keep it small and simple. I was thinking about taking Xian as well, but I was still ever so slightly concerned about unleashing Xian in a big city. If she messed something up like she usually did, it could lead to all sorts of disasters, so I had her focus on educating her staff and keeping things orderly for me. Geld was too busy directing the construction of Milam's new capital to get away from that. Diablo was still off on his epic journey wherever. He talked about the protégés he'd round up, but was he struggling with it? Because the production of his body vessels was proceeding along well. I wanted that wrapped up before he returned, so really, there was no need for him to hurry things along. I'm sure he'd zoom right back if I called for him, but I didn't have any pressing work for him, so no reason not to give him some free time. Hakuro was off with Momiji to the land of the Tengu. Gabble was out with Midre visiting the city of the Forgotten Dragon. It was home to a flock of wyverns, apparently, and he intended to capture some and attempt to domesticate them. Building Team Harayu into a stronger fighting force had been on Gabble's mind for a while. As part of that effort, he decided to try building a flying squadron with wyverns as mounts. It was easy to forget given his newfound career as a scientist and researcher, but Gabble was still a powerful warrior beloved by his followers. I think he was onto something with that idea. If he made it work, I'd need to amply praise him for it. Thus, the rest of my top-level staff were busy with other matters, so it was just two others and I who went to Anglacia, meeting up with Soe there. Our first visit was to some clothing stores, lined with the kind of show windows you'd find in modern Japan. In much the same way, a lot of passers-by liked looking at them, indicating just how much of a city the Anglacian capital had become. The window in this particular shop also seemed astoundingly tall to me. Glass was a fairly common thing to see around here, but panes this size could cost as much as a small house by themselves. If the shop was using these for display purposes, they must have been doing a damn good business. As Mjolmile advised, look at the flow of people, and you can see they made the right choices. By the way, our town had show windows like this as well. When I told everyone what I saw in Anglacia, Shuna and our other female staff demonstrated a keen interest in adopting that custom. I had no reason to turn them down, so after discussing it with Mildo, I had him work on manufacturing glass for me. We had a valued partner in Raphael, so it didn't take long at all to produce practical show windows. Regardless, we were clothes shopping at Shuna's request. She was curiously peering at all the new fashions in those windows right now, and I have to say, it was all pretty gaudy. In the stores we passed, there were lots of outfits with novel designs we never saw back home. The clothes Shuna and her team sewed, after all, were mostly ensembles gleaned from my own memory, but these shops were full of original pieces from entrepreneurial designers. They all seemed to compete with one another on the racks, and the sight was more than enough to capture Shuna's heart.
I certainly don't want to lose out to all this,
she whispered, resolute.
I must redouble my efforts.
Yeah, keep up the good work. And, everyone, Go ahead and select whatever you like. I'll cover the cost.
What? Are you sure?
Me too? I'll keep this on, thank you.
It's fine, it's fine. I don't pay you a salary anyway, so at least let me be generous with this.
As thanks for their usual hard work, I decided to give all three of them new clothes. I had a suit along with me for tomorrow's conference, but Benimaru and Soe were still in full battle gear. They fit in with the adventurers milling around town, so nobody brought it up, but on the streets, they were too imposing for my tastes. Shuna was in her usual shrine maiden garb as well, and I think some fashionable casual wear would do her some good. So I had them pick out their favorites. Benimaru and Soe went with tailored jackets, shirts, and skinny jeans, huh? Alright, it looked good on them. And Shuna went with, whoa, a fluffy white gaucho skirt and an ice blue knit vest? Cute, that really worked on her.
That looks good. I like it, Shuna.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that, Sir Rimuru.
Yep, the shrine outfit is fine and all, but something casual wouldn't hurt her, either. It's also novel on her, fresh, if you will. Since we were there and all, I decided to purchase several outfits. We'd no doubt use these as models to sew our own, starting next time. I also purchased a thin, dark blue dress for Shion as a souvenir. She's got kind of a cool demeanor, in terms of looks anyway, so I figured she'd stand out in that.
I'm sure she'll love it.
You think so?
Glad to hear that.
Yes, I'm positive.
If Shuna said so, it was probably true.
And you guys look okay in that, too, so go ahead and take it.
Not as much guidance for us, huh?
No.
Benimaru and Soe sounded like they had complaints, but who knows? And why were they still trying on outfits? They acted like they didn't care, but now they were diving deep into the racks. A handsome man looks good in anything, so I really didn't think they needed to agonize over their decisions that much. Meanwhile, all my decisions were snap judgments. It wasn't like I could describe the difference between one ensemble or the other, so I had the store clerks pick for me. Couldn't go wrong with that, I figured. Finally, we made our selections. We were fitted for them on site, which let us change right into them. Shuna was now lovingly clutching the box of clothes I got for her, smiling broadly. Unlike my disappointing secretary Shion, Shuna pretty much always had it together. The gap between them was charming like that. Benimaru and Soe looked happy about their own clothes, too, so I'd call this outing a success. They pretty much worked day and night, so I really wanted to thank them somehow. If this excited them that much, I thought as I settled the bill, I should have taken them here sooner. After changing into new clothes, we headed for the cafe our old friend Yoshida used to run. A trainee of his had taken it over, and it was doing a pretty decent business, and since we were one of their suppliers, we were allowed to make purchases at a discount. We were scheduled to meet Hinata there, whom we heard had arrived in Anglacia before us. I figured we could enjoy my first Anglacian lunch in a while as we talked over tomorrow's conference. As we waited for her, I let Soe give me a briefing. He had his feelers all over the Western nations, so I figured he'd know why they chose this timing for the invite.
Alright, Soe, your report?
Certainly. First, I'd like to start with some of the feedback from the Founders Festival.
He gave me a rundown of the more important rumors and discussions he had picked up from across the land, in an easy-to-grasp fashion. I appreciated that. The response to the Founders Festival was pretty positive. From the royalty up top to the farmers at the bottom, people talked about it all over the place. The dungeon was also generating tons of buzz. Our ad pitch to the nobility must have worked, because a few of them were forming teams of challengers to conquer the dungeon. Even people from faraway lands, not just the border nations, were reportedly curious. At this rate, I thought we could expect even more customers soon. After that pleasant news, we got down to business.
So did you investigate the merchants, and who's behind Duke Muse?
I did not neglect that, Sir Rimuru. From the merchants' families to their business relations, I conducted a thorough investigation. Based on that, I did not find any connections to particularly suspicious figures. However, these merchants did go through several government intermediaries in order to obtain business licenses in the nations they work in, and when I traced these officials, I found they all had connections to Duke Muse.
So, what did that mean?
Understood. The merchants were likely doing the bidding of the subject Muse.
Alright, so there's probably not much point investigating those guys further. What about Muse, then? I guess there really is some kind of secret cabal running the Western nations, and they might be scheming something new right now, as we speak. Muse seems like a competent enough noble. We better keep him under surveillance.
So Muse did a good job covering his tracks, huh? What's that potential threat up to now?
As competent as he might be, though, there was no escaping Soei's eyes. No matter what kind of seedy group he tried to buddy up with, it'd only serve us in catching him red-handed. But Soei quickly banished that thought from my mind.
He's dead, Sir Rimuru.
Huh?
We believe he was felled by some manner of long-range attack.
As the Duke of Gaston, Muse was something of a big shot. If someone like him was murdered, I really was starting to wonder about this mystery cabal. And if this was that cabal's way of escaping capture, they must have a lot of power to work with.
Report. There is the possibility that they have noticed the subject Soei's investigations.
So they shut him up, huh? Maybe we should give this adversary the respect they deserved. They weren't playing around.
And you didn't see who did it?
Benimaru asked.
No.
Soei flatly replied.
I didn't detect any presence at all until Muse fell to the ground in front of me.
He only heard the sound of Muse collapsing, so there wasn't a whole lot he could do to stop anything. He sounded despondent about it, and I couldn't do much apart from console him.
That's pretty unbelievable. If not even you could spot them, they must have been attacking from thousands of feet away. You would have detected the magic if they used any, and if it was some flying projectile, you would have picked up the lingering aura from that, right?
It really couldn't be that easy to hoodwink him. I've got Raphael with me, of course, so magic sense lets me detect pretty much anything. But this.
Maybe it was a sniper, huh?
A sniper?
What is that?
Not a concept Benimaru or Soei were aware of. Shuna gave me a curious look as well, and I suppose I could see why. This world didn't have guns, but then, would it be so unusual for an otherworlder to have one?
You said a gun? I'm pretty sure Yuki has a handgun.
What?
The sudden voice from behind almost made me fall out of my chair. It was Hinata, sneaking up in an attempt to startle me. Benimaru laughed in my face. Even Soei was stifling a chuckle, a hand covering his mouth. I looked so dumb.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shoutout to Assassin139, Rembaru, Shadvota, Fennec Foxy, Velkayanes, Pickle Rick, Tatsuya Gaming, Mr. Jaha, Ken Hiroshi, and last but not least, shoutout to Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez. I'll see you guys in the next video.